welcome. My name is Jeanette Ipaputwason. I am the founder of Twason Racing and the author of Chicdriven. Today we are learning about something about negative thoughts, how it controls us, and how we are able to fight it. Chicdriven has always been synonymous to empowerment, and we learn this by the sharing of passionate and inspiring individuals who share their wisdom in a short and straight to the point way. If you're like me who's juggling 5 kids, some companies, and a husband, and want to have some time for self-love, you would really want your best life in bullet points. Today, we have someone really special for our first bullet point series. Joining us today from New York, tagged by Success Magazine as the one-woman brand, a creativity and innovation guru, ranked number 8 by the SAP in the top 51 influencers of the human potential, nominated for the Motivational Speaker of the Year from 2019 for SpeakerCon, named as one of Forbes' list of 50 founders to follow, the author of the More Method and What If and Why Not, let us all welcome Jen Groover. Jen, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
So happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
How's everything in that side of the world?
Things are a bit crazy. Hopefully they're calming down as we enter the summer here, but things have been unlike I've ever experienced before in my lifetime. So tensions have been high. Fear has been incredibly escalated, and a lot of businesses are in peril of going out of business. So there's a lot of people that are suffering right now, mentally, physically, and emotionally.
That's right. And I think our topic today is very relevant because there's so many anxiety all around. I mean, as you mentioned, the world is going crazy. It's not just there, but also here, there's a lot of uncertainty. Mm-hmm. So I know for a fact that negative thoughts have really a bad impact on our bodies and in our well-being. What more effects does it give us?
Yeah. So so much is out of our control in what's going on with the world, but there are things that we can control. And our mindset is the first part of it. And when we realize that we're in control of that we have the power to choose how we're viewing things, we can maintain a greater state of calm and being centered. And that allows for us to be more strategic, more creative, more innovative. When we're in a state of fear, we constrict, our brain constricts, our bodies constrict. So we unravel physically, mentally, and emotionally. And so it's hard to see this time as a productive time when you're in that state of fear. But if you actually understand, okay, things are out of my control right now, but I'm going to choose to view them in a way that serves me, that helps me instead of hurts me, it allows you to have a greater perspective of seeing opportunities in these obstacles and be able to be expansive in how we're living today. So when everything hopefully goes back to normal, we have an upper hand of how we're performing in life. And our mindset also controls our physical state. So a lot of the fear is people being afraid of getting sick. Well, the worst thing that you could do to yourself when you're afraid of getting sick is make yourself sick by being stressed out and not taking care of yourself properly. So our mindset is affecting how we're viewing the world, but it's also affecting our physical and emotional states, which create dis-ease in our bodies. So if we want to optimize our health and well-being, it's another reason and priority to stay in a healthy mindset so that your body stays healthy and strong as well. Because we all know when you're in a state of stress is one of the biggest killers in our society because it causes our immune systems to suppress, which means then we are less likely to fight off outside invaders. So our mindset really creates the temperature, the overall temperature of our mental and emotional and physical state. But it is something that we can control despite the uncontrollables outside of us.
Okay, so let's get into the meat of this topic. So sure. We all know that stress is not a good way to fight COVID-19. So let's start with what's the first step that we should do to fight off negative thoughts.
So we have to understand that once we control our minds, we control our lives. And when we understand we have that power every day, we can wake up with, how am I going to see today? How am I going to build the muscle? Our brains are literally like a muscle. We actually have what's called neural pathways in our brains. And these are basically the messenger systems that operate our conscious mind, also our subconscious mind. But on a day-to-day basis, if we're taking control of what our conscious mind is choosing to view and choosing to focus on, we are taking control of how we're going to live that day. And it's an exercise, just like working out your physical body, we're working out our mental state so that we can do it less consciously and operate from a more positive state unconsciously, even when things aren't going your way. So it's not just about being positive and ignoring the realities around us. Yes, there are realities around us that can be hindering how we feel or how we're operating our businesses and how we're living our lives. We can acknowledge what's happening around us, but not stay focused on it and make our world revolve around that. So the first step is knowing how to control your mindset so that you can control your life. The next step is to realize that nothing has meaning until you give it meaning. So this helps this exercise of controlling your mindset. Nothing has meaning until you give it meaning. So let that sit in for a second. We are the meaning makers of our lives. We are in control of the meaning that we're giving everything. So this entire time, as COVID has existed and our government shut down the country for the most part, a lot of business owners were really in a state of fear and panic, understandably so. And a lot of business owners would say to me, Jen, aren't you freaking out right now? I mean, I had over 100 speaking engagements canceled. My book tour came to a screeching halt. All of these things were starting to unravel. And I kept saying, I'm not going to take that fear-based perspective. The meaning I'm giving this is I'm going to appreciate this slowdown as an opportunity to do all the things that I've been back-burnering, that I've been meaning to do but haven't had time to do. I'm going to use this as an opportunity to realize that whenever there's a crisis, there's behavioral change. So I'm going to take my time to observe the behavioral changes and be excited for potentially creating new businesses around those behavioral changes. Or I'm going to take this time and give the meaning of this moment to appreciate being with my family more and just slowing down and appreciating the simple things in life again. So those were the meanings I chose to give this time so that my thoughts, my meanings could help me instead of hurt me, that they could lift me up and put me into a positive state instead of a negative state. And so when we realize that we're the meaning makers of our lives, we are in the driver's seat of how we're choosing to view the world. And we then lose the opportunity to make excuses. So learning nothing has meaning until you give it meaning really disrupts your ability to make excuses of why you're giving negative meanings that are going to hold you back instead of help you move forward. And the next step is understanding that we have control of very few things in life. We have really very little control of things that are happening outside of us, but we do have control of our perspective, which is how we view things, which ties into that nothing has meaning that until we give it meaning. We choose our perspective. Now, perspective is a little bit complex. In behavioral patterning, if you really break down perspective is the culmination of all of your life experiences leading up to this moment, all the life experiences, all the assumptions that you've made in those life experiences leading up to this moment of the lens in which you viewed the world. So our perspective is never actually the truth. It's just our perspective. And so what's an important strategy, not just during this time period, but every time period of life, to be the most effective leader you could possibly be, is to constantly try to see multiple perspectives. Try to understand other people's points of view, because then it allows us to see the world in obviously multiple perspectives, but more vastly. One of the greatest exercises in moment of potential debate with somebody of a point of view is to, instead of try to be right, try to understand. Seeking to understand is where we find greater growth. We gain greater wisdom. And so when I see somebody, maybe on social media, post a point of view that doesn't sit with me or that I don't understand, instead of trying to project my point of view on them, I'll say, can you help me understand your point of view? And so many times I just find it amazing that I couldn't see from their lens 10 minutes before that conversation. Once I actually have the conversation, I can see from their lens too. So always remember, the perspective isn't a one thing. There's never one perspective. There's always multiple perspectives. And the more we can recognize that and train ourselves to see the multiple perspectives, the more we will get out of every experience in life and the more well-rounded we will be. And the more we can actually create greater deduction of reasoning for our points of view. And lastly, one of the big things to control your mindset, to control your life, is understand that what you focus on expands. One of the number one things that I've been giving advice about during this entire time is stop watching the news. And the reason I tell people to stop watching the news so much is because the news wants us to turn in. Listen, I've been on the news for over a decade, so I can tell you this. The news wants you to tune in. They have ratings. Ratings base the amount of ad dollars they can get. It is a business. They are loving this time because they have a captive audience. People have been stuck in their homes, obsessing about television. The more they create fear, the more people are going to tune in. The more people tune in, the higher the ratings go. The higher the ratings go, the greater the ad dollars are. That is how it works. It is capitalism as well. And people need to realize that, because you are often being used as a pawn in their ratings so that they can create more ad dollars. And when we learn to decipher that, we can not be irresponsible and not educated, but we can look at the headlines, learn how to navigate truth and not truth, and then move forward. But if we're focusing on the negative, we will get more negative in our lives. We'll get more anxiety. We'll get more disruption in how we feel and how we're thinking. In the US, the numbers of suicide have climbed so high. The amount of calls to the hotlines is up over 600%, probably even higher than that at this moment. And it's because people are focusing on the negative. People are focusing on what's wrong. People are focused on what's missing, what they're going to lose. And so if we can shift to, okay, what are we gaining here? Like I said earlier, focusing on more time with my family, slowing down. I've been really appreciative, quite honestly, having teenage girls not dropping off and picking up and dropping off and picking up every single day after school. So instead of thinking what I'm missing out on and, can't go out with my friends and go to a restaurant, I think, wow, we've saved so much money on not going out and entertaining all the time. So that's just a simple example. But if we focus on what's wrong, we're going to get more of what's wrong. This isn't just mindset. This is also quantum physics. There's a thing that you can Google called observer theory, and it's a one-on-one lesson in quantum physics. What you focus on expands. What you focus on, you create. What you focus on becomes your reality. And so focus on more of what's right, what you can be grateful and appreciative of, and you will come out of challenging experiences in a more productive, positive way. And at the end of the day, there's a lesson in everything that happens to us. So if we seek each experience in a way that we realize that we should be learning and growing, and we're seeking the wisdom that's going to come from each experience, no experience will happen in vain. No one. Even some of the worst experiences of life, you can find positive in when you're looking for it.
All right. So sometimes the issue is people are not aware that they're in their negative thoughts, or they're just this pit of negative thoughts. What do you think is the first step for people to realize this or have a self-awareness that they're in this pit of negative thoughts?
Well, first is to scan how you feel. If you're feeling stressed out and anxious, your thoughts are probably very much negative. Most depression, the vast majority, I'd say about 85%, is people repeating negative, worrisome thoughts in their minds. So if you're feeling depressed, if you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling overwhelmed, it is because your thoughts are probably dictating that. Another contributor to that I want to add, because I think it's really important, is while people have been home and kind of maybe out of their routine and maybe not working out as much, they've been eating a lot more poorly. And in eating poorly, you're going to affect how you feel, and not in a good way. If you put junk in, you feel junk out. And so I say to people, if you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling depressed, the worst thing that you could do for yourself is eat sugar or eat junk food, because it will exacerbate that emotional state. So there's thought processes, but there's also habits. And I think it's really important to mention, if you want to feel well and you want to still feel in control, create a routine. Even if it's an at-home routine and it's out of your normal routine, create a routine. One of the things I've done this entire time is I still plan video chats first thing in the morning. Why? Because it forces me to get up on time, put my hair and makeup on, and get ready so I at least look presentable and I'm not staying in sweats and comfies all day, because when you stay like that, you don't feel as productive during the day. And so there's routines that we can be doing. Still staying in your sleep routine. I know a lot of people have gotten out of that.
Yeah, you're guilty. I'm in my Netflix routine.
Yeah. And a lot of people have, and they get sucked in till 3 or 4 a.m. and then the next day they're sluggish. So there are things that we can still control. But if you're feeling physically not good, you're usually probably thinking not quality thoughts. And I want to add one more thing. Have accountability partners in this journey. Accountability partners are I call them my power posse. My power posse are all positive-minded, growth-minded people that I check in with on a daily basis. We're all part of a group chat. We share positive videos, we share positive books, we share positive articles, and we are all accountable to each other to continue to uplift each other despite what's happening. And one other big thing too is social media is an infiltration of your psyche. And right, like there's that saying, everyone knows you are the sum of the people you surround yourself with.
Yes, that's right.
You are also the sum of the people on your social media feed. So if you find that people are very toxic and negative and they're not making you feel good, hide them. Facebook has this feature now that you can hide someone. You don't want to delete them because that causes drama, but just hide them.
Just unfollow. Actually, just unfollow them. I realized a couple of months before that, looking into Facebook so much or social media or Instagram, it actually makes me feel bad. So what I did was I went on a detox and I removed some of the feeds that actually depresses me or makes me feel bad. And then later on, when you were more or less in touch with your positivism or positivity, that's when I started bringing back those people again. And I think it's very important that we realize that it's not reality. What you see on social media is not reality.
Agreed. Yeah, it's not. Or it's just, I notice there's certain people that get consumed with the negative narrative and they just go, every post is about that. And then there's people that want to argue with each other. And that to me is just incredibly toxic. And it can really affect how you feel.
Yes, that's right. So just to summarize what we have discussed. So again, we all know that negative thoughts are bad for us. It's really bad. So it greatly affects your well-being and your body. And the only thing you have control, as we learned from Jen today, is your mindset, your perspective. Everything is neutral. Your perspective is what gives it meaning. When you are constantly saying the same thing or you're constantly focusing on the same thing, as Jen said, it's quantum physics. It manifests, it becomes reality. So please focus on the good thing. And another thing we learned from Jen today is, of course, you need to eat well. I know this for the first hand. I saw Jen. She didn't want to eat carbs for lunch because she's going to be sluggish. And I tried it. Yes, you are sluggish after you eat carbs. Also, another thing is have a routine. Yes, I think that's very important as well. In the morning, I think to start with the gratitude journal. That's what I do. Just to keep your mind and focus on the positive things. And again, from Jen, have an accountability partner. This can be your friends. You know, you can have a daily chat with them, share inspirational and motivational stories. I think that's a very good tip. So thank you, Jen. I'm going to move forward because again, life in bullet points, it has to be fast, quick, and everyone has to learn it in 20 minutes. But today you're lucky. We're going to be raffling off a copy of Jen's book. It is What If and Why Not. So Jen, can you ask our followers a question so that they can win this book?
Yes. What did I suggest eliminating from your life?
Is it a bad boyfriend? Oh, no, I'm just kidding. Guys, please put your answers below.
Not on today, so only on today. So that could be a variable of answers, right?
Guys, put your comments below. We will be raffling off one book. So again, we want to thank Jen for coming from New York. You know, we're streaming from New York. We've learned so many things today, and I want to thank everyone for joining us. But Jen, can you please tell our viewers where can they reach you, or where can they find you?
Yeah, so I'm incredibly active on social media. It's my name, Jen Groover, on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and I also have a YouTube channel that I'm posting different things on. And my latest book is also The More Method, if you want to learn more about that as well.
I have that. Yeah, I have that. So again, everyone, thank you for coming and thank you for watching. This is Jeanette Ipapotwason, and thank you for joining Chicdriven, your best life in bullet points.